Hey guys, I'm here with another one of my custom reviews, and this time I want to take a look at my Spawn custom action figure. Now, I did finish this guy a couple years ago, and he's actually my second Spawn figure. The first one I made was one of my first completed custom action figures ever, so I really wanted to wait, until I improved my techniques and skill set, and then tackle this guy again. Because he's really one of my favorite characters, and he has that iconic look and so many looks that he's had over the years. I knew I could just do, different kinds of spawns. This figure specifically was based on how he looked in the comics at the time, also on some one-shot graphic novels by the French artist Alexis Briclot, I think his name is. And he really had an organic look going on with his suit, so I really tried to play that up with the sculpting of the muscle fibers and the tendons and striations, and I think it turned out really cool. And going back to his, his iconic looks, I knew that I was gonna have to make his cape out of fabric, so that was extremely challenging, but also very rewarding. But I'll get to that. Alright, so I want to show off some of his articulation, and I did use Hasbro Marvel Legends Black Spider-Man. I really like the range of motion, and I think that was one of the better bodies out at the time. So everything's been sanded down and sculpted over, and I do mean like every square centimeter. But all of his articulation is retained, so starting from the top, his head still on the swivel and disc, and under the cape he still has his shoulders. They go out and forward. Cape restricts it a little bit, but there's enough. And his double jointed elbows. I rarely pose my figures, just a little bit, but I like knowing it's there. And he has his wrist articulation. He still has his ab crunch. And I did glue the waist. I glued him at the waist, so I got rid of his waist swivel, and that's just so I could sculpt that abdomen, and it's clean. I don't think he needs it, to be honest. And he still has those hips, and that was before they went back to their 90-degree forward T-hips, so these are just really those terrible swivels. But I don't really pose my customs that much. He still has his double jointed knees. And his ankles. No swivels on his body though, so he'll just be standing there like this. So I want to take a look at some of the detail work and what I did on this guy. Now the head is from the Winter Soldier that came with that Black Widow and that Hasbro 2-pack. And I really just did it to keep he had that harsh brow line with his mask. And the rest is just sculpted over. So that white part on that Spawn always has, pieces of his mask. It's a challenge to get that symmetrical. And he just has some of those like striations going on to match the rest of his suit. You can see more of that going on his neck. And it goes down really just everywhere. So I wanted to keep the muscle definition and all of those details going on. And then Spawn will usually have some red, armor pieces maybe on his suit, like a gauntlet piece, and then something on one of his arms, and then maybe a piece on his thigh or leg. So I was keeping with his how he kind of looked in his first appearance. He had just, his black. He had the white M for Malbolgia, and then he had some red right here. And then he had a belt, but I didn't put that on there. So I wanted to kind of throw back to that original design, and then I kind of faded out the red here to make it look like muscle tissue, and faded that into black right here. And then keeping with the organic look for his red parts, I wanted to make them look like they were just growing out of his suit and were part of him. Of course, adding spikes. You can see some of that detail right here. And then just going crazy with the line work and the detail just to make it look really organic. And then he has that going on his gauntlet right there. Some more spikes. And you can see going on, there we go, right here. So he's got some stuff going on. And then moving down to the legs, keeping the muscle definition, and just adding all of those lines. And I didn't put a piece, he might have a piece on his thigh usually going around, or some pouches if he's that kind of spawn, depending, or the boot, and I really don't like that. So I just chose a piece around his shin. So that goes all the way around with some spikes on there. And you know, this guy is sculpted everywhere, so it even goes around all the way to the back, but his cape hides most of that. One of the things I think is most iconic about Spawn is his cape, and a lot of artists like to draw it a lot of different ways, so I knew I was going to have to make it out of fabric just to get that look that it has a lot of character. So I looked at the Image 10th anniversary Spawn figure, and that cape was made in like 3 or 4 different parts. So I kind of replicated that. There's this collar that goes down to maybe his middle back. The main body of the cape. And it goes around up here a little bit. And then these side pieces are like wings. And I kind of tatted them and faded them out a little bit. Just to get like this look that he has always, coming off the shoulders with those skull pieces holding it in place. So just engineering that, trying to figure that out was a little bit of a challenge. But it turned out really good, and I just had to fold it, glue it, and just crimp it, and crush it, and crumple it. And that took a lot of time to get that look, but that's what Spawnscape is known for, so I just had to make sure I got all of that detail work. And that was a lot of fun, just weathering it and stressing it. And he has some chains glued to his upper back, and I kind of just weave those into the cape because he needs some chains, I think. Alright, so there he is, my custom Spawn figure. I'm sure he won't be the last, but at the time I really wanted to push myself and do something crazy, and I love Spawn, and he has so many looks that I thought, you know, I better go all out on this guy. And with the sculpting over the body and the cape, he really turned out to be something special, and he's really one of my favorite custom figures that I've made. So thanks for watching. I'll be back taking a look at more of my custom figures. I'll have some tutorials and making up videos, so stay tuned.